Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. We're back with episode 8 of To Your Eternity. And last episode had my boy Gugu down bad. Down real bad. But now he's hitting those workouts like it's a Rocky movie, so let's see what's gonna happen. Make sure you click that first link in the description below if you want to watch the reaction. Otherwise, make sure you stay tuned for the after discussion. I'm sure it's gonna be a good one. Alright, welcome back to the discussion. This episode definitely slowed the pace down a little bit, but there's still quite a few things that I wanted to talk about. First of all, what the heck was that with the booze man putting a bladder inside Gugu to hold alcohol? I mean, it was his dream or his fantasy to see if alcohol could be stored in somebody. What is this guy, some kind of mad scientist, like crazy crackpot inventor trying to create something that nobody in this world would ever think to create? I don't know. Maybe he's going to sell it to people so that they can store alcohol in themselves too. But honestly, that whole situation kind of just served to accentuate the bizarre nature of the predicament and just the fate that Gugu seems to be trapped in right now. This alcohol reservoir that the old booze man put inside him is just a physical representation, a symbol for us for his transformation into the monster that he feels that he has become. Everything's been hard on Gugu. He wants to be normal again, obviously. He tries really hard to get that alcohol reservoir out of himself, like to try and cough it up or throw it up or something. But he can't. He's basically stuck with it until the booze man decides to take it out, if he can even do that. Gugu's just in a really tough place. And he tries to go back to the life that he used to have too. He tries to go back to the farmer that he used to work for with his brother to see if he would hire him back. And even though the farmer was okay with him, the other workers on the farm and his family, especially his son, really weren't able to accept Gugu. Gugu says this line to the farmer's family that I think was one of the more memorable lines of the episode. He says, "Being family depends on whether or not you can love each other. Look at my face. See if you can love me." But the farmer's family wasn't able to love him. I think that really hints at one of the crucial aspects of human nature. And of course, human, traits, characteristics, and nature, society, everything are all present in this show as, either undertones or major themes in these episodes, especially developing fushi. And what I would say for this episode particularly, the thematic undertone was the idea that human nature requires us to be able to see ourselves in something that we can accept. The reason why the farmer's family is not able to accept Gugu, or even the people in the village, in the market, watching him walk by, they're not able to accept him because on the surface level, physically, he looks bizarre, grotesque, or whatever the case may be. We still haven't really seen his face, right? He doesn't look normal, natural. He's basically a pariah. And this is contrasted at the end of the episode when Fushi saves Gugu by transforming into the wolf and then the bear. Gugu says, "You're so much more awesome when you're a monster." In that way, he feels like he can accept Fushi now because he sees himself in Fushi, right? The idea that they're both monsters in some way. This even extends back to the people he used to be living with, the booze man, Pioran, but particularly the booze man, who himself is sort of seen as a weird character in the village that nobody really likes to get too close to, right? This underlying thematic tone in this episode is something that Fushi directly recognized as well. There's also sort of a related theme in this episode. You could read into it that we need other people in our lives to help us grow, to help us, lean on when we're in tough times. It's something that Fushi directly realized when, it turns out that he sucks at cooking, he sucks at working in the fields, and he sucks at cleaning. He sucks at basically doing everything. And, for good reason, honestly. He's a lot more evolved than I thought he would be now. He's going at a very quick pace, but he realizes that he needs a teacher. He needs someone to show him how to do things because he's never done it really properly before, right? He's never really learned it properly. He's just seen a little bit here and there, but Fushi realizes that he needs Gugu to help him grow. And I think Gugu also realized that he can't just do it all on his own. He needs people. He needs people who accept him right now. And I mean, he also needs the booze man who can hopefully take that alcohol reservoir out of him, right? But the other thing that we saw that really sort of captures this theme is when Gugu runs into his brother. Shin is the representation of someone who decided to go it alone, go on his own, right? He took the money and he left his little brother. But look where he's ended up now. Cast out in the alley of the marketplace, looking skinny, hungry, and just not well off at all. Gugu even pities him. But it just shows that often we do need others to help us, and that can be very important to whether or not we're able to survive or not even. But man, the more I think about it, Gugu's just had such a rough go these last couple episodes. And I thought at the end of last episode, things were kind of turning around. He was getting motivated to better himself. But then this episode, he took another little bit of a dive. But again, hopefully, at the end of the episode, it looks like he's feeling a bit better. He and Fushi have made up, and hopefully he, gets back to his new home, and we go from there. But originally, Gugu not really getting along with Fushi at the start of the episode was another thing that I wanted to touch on. It looks like Gugu's, feeling some type of way about Rean and the attention that Fushi was getting from her. It was kind of in a mean disposition towards Fushi, let's say, which I guess is, typical. I mean, that's how people can be, right? A little bit jealous. But one thing that I thought was cool was it was nice to see Gugu sort of be the first person so far to see how he can test Fushi's abilities and, some of the limits of what he could do. So he slices Fushi's hand with a knife, and then Fushi is able to perfectly replicate the knife, which, okay, that definitely goes along with what we've seen so far and, makes sense. When he gets stimulated by something, or a person or an object, he is able to replicate that object or person. But then Gugu tries to see if Fushi can make fire if the fire burns him. That didn't work. He was able to make the stick that Gugu lit on fire, but he wasn't able to replicate the fire itself. So definitely no fire bending. But at the same time, it was kind of interesting that he could make the stick, because what kind of limits could there be on that? Because the stick never actually touched him or physically interacted with him. So it raises the question, what kind of limitations are there to how far attached an object can be from stimulating him to him being able to replicate it. But I guess we'll, have to wait and see how that gets developed further in the future. The last thing I want to talk about before we end today's discussion was Rean. And there's a couple things about Rean that really, raise some questions that need to be answered. And I feel like they're probably going to be answered in the next episode. When I think about what sort of impetus we have to move the plot forward in the next episode, I'm thinking it's going to be centered around Rean, and particularly Rean's family situation. Now, Rean, it's clear that she comes from a wealthy family, and when she gave Gugu her ring, the attendant that she was with said, "Oh, your father gave you that. You can't just give it away." So clearly her father is someone important, but she wanted to come work at the booze man's place and even actually live there with them, despite being from this clearly wealthy, well-off family, right? So that raises the question, what is her family situation? Is there something going on with her family? And the mind automatically goes to comparisons with March. Maybe there's some sort of ritual or rite of passage or something that she's supposed to be, some sort of expectations on her that she's running away from, because it doesn't make sense for her to be doing what she's doing, right? Unless she was trying to get out of doing something or get out of some sort of responsibility or whatever the case may be. I guess we'll find out. The other thing that makes it more interesting is when Gugu went to go sell the ring that Rean gave him, the merchant that he went to sell it to, his jaw dropped and exclaimed, "Where did you find this ring?" when he presented it. That to me says that the ring itself has something very recognizable or precious about it, that the merchant would be able to tell it apart from just, a regular gold ring with a little jewel in it. mean, as nice as that is, I'm sure there's plenty of, or maybe there's not, who knows? Maybe there's no gold and jewels in the area. I don't know. But it really seems to suggest that there's something special about this girl's family or her father, and maybe he's the king of the land. Who knows? All I know is that there's something there, and we're probably going to find out about it next episode. The other thing is that Rena's still complaining about her arm injury, but of course the booze man told us that the wound probably should have healed by now, which seems to suggest that either she's using it as a pretense just to, I don't know, get some sympathy or interest from Gugu or whoever else, I don't know, or there's something a little bit more behind it that we don't really know about yet. But I mean, it's just a little detail at this point that, just like, you know, Gugu's belly being bigger when he looked at himself in the mirror after Boozman saved him, maybe we'll get an explanation for why that is, but at this point we can't really say either way. This episode was definitely a little bit more mellowed out and less exciting and fast paced as some of the other episodes, but I can tell we're definitely getting, you know, the proper setup for what's to come. And if it's anything like the previous episodes in this series, I'm sure what's to come is going to be, you know, pretty exciting and interesting, that's for sure. But it looks like that's going to do it for today's discussion, everyone. If you enjoyed the video or thought it was worth sharing, please consider dropping a like or even subscribing to the channel, as it helps us out a lot. I also look forward to any comments you guys have, and maybe I can use them for discussions in the next videos. I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.